You know, what they say about witches is not completely wrong. I had once been a witch who practiced simple magic. Harmless, really. I would harvest herbs, make potions, and cure fleas. When women visited me, they always wanted love potions. It was always because they wanted a man who didn't want them, or worse still, a man who was with another woman. For them, I made touch and follow. A bit of lavender, lemon balm, a bit of basil, and a little bit of cow dung, just to keep things interesting. She would cake her face in the powder and made sure the first man she saw afterwards was the one she desired. The moment they locked eyes, he would go with her, forsaking family and property. He'd follow her every command till the day of his death. Touch and follow was one of my greatest creations. Harmless, really. Our business together was brief and simple. I never asked their names and the names of the men they were after. The women never returned to me for any reason, good or bad. In the beginning, when I was still fine-tuning the potion, it would fail. The woman would conclude I was just another charlatan making unfounded claims. The shame of being deceived made it more difficult for them to return. When the potion did work, they never returned because they did not want anyone knowing what they had done. And so, when I inevitably crossed paths with a woman and her husband, things were rather awkward. You could tell when a man was domesticated. You could always tell. He grinned from ear to ear like an actual idiot and carried all the produce on their way home. Most of the women in the village envied that woman. They wished their husbands would treat them with the same deference. We would lock eyes on the market square and the secret passed between us. I know what you did. If the only side effect of touch and follow was a smiling man that took care of his wife, I might have continued making the stuff. However, when things went wrong and the man's spirit disagreed, it usually ended badly. Sure, he'd marry her, but a restless soul was hard to tame, and it would bleed out in violent ways. It usually began with mild irritation with everything the woman did. The food is too cold, the sex is too vanilla, the sun is too high, and one day out of nowhere he would backhand her across the face. Maybe I shouldn't have looked at him that way. Maybe I should have made sure the children were quiet. Maybe... She would blame herself. She would try harder, but it would get worse. Either way, the woman never returned to me. She would cover up the scars when he started to strike her and cry quietly so as not to disturb him further. She would tell her friends stories of new and wild sex positions she and her husband were trying. The young women called it sadomasochism. You could unlock channels to orgasms like you've never experienced before. And it would pass. Her friends would envy her because they probably had not been made to orgasm ever by their own husbands. Sometimes the woman would end up dead or brain dead, beaten to a pulp by her own husband. Either way, she never returned to me. People whispered and I heard. Through housewives' gossip, the tale of touch and follow went around in the quiet underbelly of the town. Despite some of the unfortunate consequences when the potion failed, More women came to me because they always thought, mine will be different. Mine can only be good. This was fine for a while. Then I discovered if you killed a small animal, you let the blood run free and ate its intestines, you could see the future. The first time I had invited a demon, it was mostly accidental. It was an attempt to touch power that few had ever wielded. I had drawn the devil's sigil and had learned to call his secret name. In retrospect, I really should have drawn a protective circle, but I didn't know better. The demon appeared before me as I had summoned. I was not expecting the spell to work, so I had never thought about what I'd say to the demon when he arrived. It was not what I had imagined. Somehow, I had imagined him being nicer looking. A bit of a playboy. Instead, in front of me crouched this gaunt-looking, almost feral creature. Big round eyes stared back at me. He was dressed in tattered clothes and leaned on a rather interesting-looking staff. His staff looked to be covered in faces, contorted in perpetual horror. The terrifying faces often cried out in a tortured symphony. He approached me slowly and with interest, his terrifying staff of faces until, as he got closer, the souls in his staff became more terrifying. They morphed out of the staff, occasionally snapping in a mad race towards my face. I froze. He came oh so close to me with those angry soul faces that I could feel hellfire. I wanted to run. I tried to. I wanted to speak the words to reverse the spell, to close the portal. Instead, I stood transfixed. He blew a cloud of smoke into my face. And then all at once, he decided he had no further interest in me. He was gone, just as suddenly as he had materialized. It was not long after that I discovered I could make bad things happen.